sometimes starting after divorce is a bit of a test and learn experience. We all know that we're getting rid of a relationship. We all know that we're probably maybe moving on from the neighborhood or the house we have. Maybe your job is changing. But what about you? What about the version of you that existed prior in your marriage? And who are you going to be now? Today's guest is going to help us chart the path forward in this new year. Let's get started. Welcome to the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast dedicated to helping women navigate the emotional journey that is divorce. I'm your host, Erica, and if you're trying to figure out life after the big D, welcome to the club. Whether you're contemplating divorce or dealing with the aftermath or any of the many phases in between, the club has got you covered. Each week, you'll hear stories from women who have been in your shoes. This isn't about spilling tea on divorce details. This is about giving you the tools to take control of your own healing journey. Listen in weekly for advice, tips, and tools to help you move through each stage of the process. Welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club. I'm your host, Erica, and today I have Meagan Norris with us. She is a certified life coach and retired attorney, and I found her years ago on Instagram creating some amazing content that truly resonated with my heart as you're trying to figure out what life looks like after divorce. So welcome to the show, Meagan. I'm glad to have you here.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah. So when I got your email to have you on the show, I was like, oh, hell yes, because this woman has been a powerhouse, you guys, helping women rewrite what that post-divorce chapter looks like. And I think you say the CEO of your life post-divorce.
I do. CEO of your divorce and life. So we're doing both.
Right? Because isn't that the truth? In my corner of the world, we're tapping it out, we're crying, we're raging, we're doing all the feels and all the emotions. But so much of it is like, how are you going to run your life in this new chapter? Like, what gets to stay? What gets to go? How are you bringing those pieces forward? And one of the things that you had shared, which I think is so profound, and you guys are going to want to like write this down or put it on a screensaver, right? You are divorcing the old version of yourself, not just the man. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
I started as I was going through my own divorce, and then afterwards, when I changed my niche and started working with women going through divorce, I started realizing that when we put the focus on doing it right and getting divorced, we are not connected to our self-trust, to who we really are, what we really want, and we are looking for answers outside of us, and we're bringing a lot of the baggage that's not really our authentic self with us. So people-pleasing and lack of boundaries and self-doubt. And those are the identity patterns that are actually at the core. It's like your curriculum. Your divorce is the school. Right? You've got to go through the school looking at how can I show up differently so that I stop repeating these patterns. Because if you don't do that work, what will happen is you're going to get to the other side of your divorce and you're going to wake up realizing life feels the same. And it will look different, but it will feel emotionally the same because you're bringing those very well ingrained neural pathways and emotional patterns with you, and you're recreating the same reality.
Yeah, because what you choose to believe, right, is what you're going to see. I always use that example of when you go car shopping, right? And you never see the car anywhere and you finally figure out what brand of car, what type of car you want. And all of a sudden it's everywhere. And you see everybody has this thing. It's that, you guys, like what the experiences you've had create the world around you. It's how everybody sees things just a little bit differently. And if you don't take divorce as the opportunity to really sift and sort and work through those areas, you tend to repeat the same patterns.
That's right. That's called the reticular activating system, by the way, in your brain. And so your brain, if you don't tell it what to look for, it will source the patterns from the past just because it wants to be efficient. It's not a moral failing. It's just an efficiency survival mechanism. So we want to be really intentional about what we decide to focus on moving forward, but also the stories that we're telling ourselves because they do create our reality.
Right. And the one story, this is not a dating episode, you guys, but the one story is like all the good men are gone. When people
Yes.
start saying like those types of beliefs, then yes, or like every guy is going to be an asshole. Yes. Then
Hmm.
guess what you are going to bring in, or I'm never going to be able to pay for this, or I'm never going to be able to get ahead. How many of you have felt like, I know I did 30, 35. Now I'm a little bit older. But 35, when this started, I really felt like I was so far in my life. How was I ever going to get it back on track? And now,
Mm.
10 years later,
Hmm.
I could say, like, holy cow, it's been 10 years. Like, look at what you've created and how far left you still want to go. So it's where we choose to focus on and what we choose to believe. So tell me a little bit, because you work with primarily women who are reclaiming this life post-divorce. And you mentioned that there are 4 pillars or 4 areas that you guys focus on when you're doing your work together. So let's explore some of those.
Yes. Okay. So if you're going to focus this experience on you, which I suggest you make it about you because you can't control literally anything else, not even your children. You can only control you. So we want to turn this everything around, be like, where's my growth here? And where's the identity work that I can do that's going to put me in the driver's seat of my divorce and then ultimately my life. So the 4 pillars of doing that work are emotional resilience, which is really about learning a different way to relate to your nervous system, because we can't stop the nervous system activation when so much of your life is changing. You're going to feel triggered and it's going to feel bad sometimes. So we want to learn how to hold those emotions and use them for ourselves instead of letting them make decisions for us or trying to solve them. Like it's a whole new way of looking at your nervous system. So we want to build emotional resilience is the first pillar. The second one is financial sovereignty. I find that the more money someone has that I'm working with, the more scarcity they have. There's this paradox happening. And you got to understand why that's the case. And you have to change how you're relating to and thinking about money, because without sufficiency in that area, even if you have millions of dollars, you will not be able to live your best life. Just period.
Yeah. And I think that deserves a repeat, because
Mhm.
so often, especially in divorce, we start comparing ourselves to somebody else. I moved into a tiny townhouse and all of my kids' friends had big houses that they were remodeling. I was only a single income. Okay, they had 2 incomes. They bought a boat. They went on these trips, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of comparison. And it always comes down to money, but money is a choice of where we choose to spend it and where we choose to move through it. And just because somebody makes twice the amount of money that you make doesn't mean they're not worried about it. And so we've got to stop this conversation and this comparison. Well, if I made $100,000, then I'd feel okay. Well, guess what? You get to that and your expenses are bigger, or you've learned to live differently and you have the same fears around it all disappearing. How am I going to support this now that it's grown this big? And so the cool part is it's not about the number of zeros, it is about the mindset. And that, like Meagan had shared, you guys can change instantly.
Yes, that's the foundation. And I want every single woman listening to want to be insanely wealthy.
Yes.
I want you to want a lot of money. And if that bothers you because you have shame or guilt or whatever, you need to do that work, because the more well-resourced women we have, the more change we can affect, the more powerful we are, the world is a better place. So please put money on your vision board if it's not already.
Yeah. Love
Please.
it.
Okay. So we got emotional resilience, lots of money, financial sovereignty. The third one is lifestyle design. So before you get to your vision, how can you rearrange your life today so that it looks like you think it will look in the future? And there's always a little tweak you can make. Always, no matter how busy you are, what your job situation is, how many kids you have, there's some way to initiate or activate some self-care and to design a little pocket of your life, whether maybe it's a corner in your house that you design a certain way, or your morning routine, to reflect this future version of you, to help you start embodying that energy right away. So that's the third pillar. And then the fourth one is I called vision-based decision making. And I know we're going to talk more about that in a minute, but the process that you use to make decisions is probably based on the past, what your ex is doing, what you think you can get, what you think you can make the best of. And it's a very flawed decision-making process that tends to perpetuate scarcity, and it feels terrible and it's confusing. And so we want to start making decisions from a different place. We want to make them looking forward from a place of sufficiency. Like, if I believe everything is going to work out for me and anything is possible, what do I know that I need to do right now or want to do right now? And that shift has created some unbelievable results for both me and my clients. Things start happening that are so good, they confuse people. They're like, wait, you did what? But that doesn't make sense. That's not real. I'm like, oh no, it happened. And it's because we're combining all of this together and then taking action based on it in a way that starts to create a different reality.
I love that. That's why I talk about the woo and the do. That's how I explain
Oh,
it to
I love
steward.
that. The woo and the do. It's so true. You got to have the do and you got to have the woo.
You have to have them both. You know, I grew up in corporate, right? Where you do and you do and you do it again. And I was like, something's missing. But then I dove deep into like manifesting and beliefs and using your emotions. And I was like, well, I'm sitting in a corner and I'm meditating real hard. And like the pile of money didn't fall in my lap. Oh, because we have to do something with it. Line up, take action. Line up, take action. It's the foundation of everything I believe in and how I still treat every day. You know, if I'm not lined up, I go get lined up and then take action.
Yes. And to like flip that on its head, when I was going through my divorce and I was looking for support from this perspective and I could not find it. So I ended up like making it up myself, which worked out in the end for me, right? But what I was finding was a lot of content on everything you're supposed to do. Make sure you do this and say this and do this. And I was exhausted and it all felt like it was coming from scarcity. And I was like, that to-do list you just are blanket statement putting out there like everyone's must do is actually a terrible fit for my circumstances. I know that I don't need to do that. And women are outsourcing their actions to people they think are experts, and they're coming from scarcity, and then they're taking misaligned actions based on someone else's expertise. And then we wonder why it's starting to feel like a shit show.
Right? Preach, girl. Like, oh my God, it's the beauty. You know, I think about, because it has been a big difference in 10 years in social media and access to people and everything since I was going through my divorce. You couldn't just go online and find a divorce group. It was bubbling up. It was there, but not like it is now. And now it's almost to the point of, who do you trust? You know, I've invested in some terrible choices on where to put my money because they had a really good pitch and they had a really good promise and I thought they had their stuff together. And then when you start working together, you're like, God, our values just really don't align. And that whole scarcity mindset, right? And like the push in the short term, you've got to find the rooms that align with who you are and where you're trying to go. Because there are lots of ways that people are going to tell you to get there. But the truth is that you have to learn how to trust yourself again to make your own decisions. We outsourced a lot of those decisions to our partner during our marriage. And so part of that is rebuilding that trust. Kind of ties into the emotional resiliency and the pieces that you have shared in those pillars. So let's look into some of these, because some of these I'm like, whoo, right? Like bring them to life. Because again, one thing to talk in generalities, but like what does it really, really look like? So we talked a little bit about the financial sovereignty. So that's a lot of like, doesn't matter how much money's coming in or out. This is a mindset shift. I'll give you like a couple quick tips and then I want you to add some quick tips too. But mine was a lot like I needed to, again, actively shift what my mind was focused on. I am so grateful that today I went and bought Starbucks and I didn't think twice about spending my $6 for Starbucks. I am grateful for that. I know not everyone is in that same thing. What I'm saying is when you make those choices of where you put your money, be like, I am so grateful that I have money to be able to shift here. And like you were saying, it sounds so dumb. It sounds so like, Erica, that's not going to change anything. it changes the worry and the stress that we carry with us every single day. And so something so little like that, like I'm so grateful I got to pay my bills off, even if it only was the bare minimum. I'm so grateful that I still have a roof over my head. I'm so grateful, whatever it is, find the places you are spending your money and really hone in on like, do you like spending your money there? Are you grateful you spent your money there? Was it a good investment? But now on your side of the world, that's our emotional woo woo side. What are some of the other tips that you help your women dive through in this area?
We go deep into their relationship with money. And I teach that your relationship with money is a reflection of your relationship to yourself. So if you're constantly saying, I don't have enough money, I'm not going to have enough money, what I hear you saying is, I'm not enough. I can't handle this. I don't trust myself. I'm not sure. And it often mirrors our attachment style. Right. So if you're anxiously attached, like that's everyone can see that probably in their relationship, right? Anxious or avoidant or mixed, whatever. What do they call the disorganized or both?
Yep,
I forget
disorganized
the
is one. I know,
okay,
right?
whatever.
We're so on
I'm
the
not
spot.
like, yeah, I'm not an attachment expert. So don't like listen, don't come from I'm not a therapist.
Yeah.
But what I find, for me, for my clients, is like if there is a disordered attachment style, I will push and pull my money. I'll pull it
Mm.
in and try to hoard it, and then I'll push it away
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel safe to have it. So let me get rid of it. And so it's
Anxious
looking at
anxious
those patterns.
attachment. Yeah, anxious
Mhm.
attachment over here means that I constantly am like, there's never enough, there's never enough.
Yes.
Scroll some more away, like, and
Yes.
you almost like choke it to death
Yes.
instead of being
Yes.
like, it's there. Like I got a little email. It was like Amazon, right? Affiliate links. And they're like, we're trying to pay you. We literally can't pay you. And I laughed. I was like, oh, do I
Oh,
have a little money block?
yes.
Am-
Yes, because it goes both ways, right? If you are penny pinching because you're terrified, you are cutting off the money going out, but you're also cutting it off from coming in and from seeing opportunities for more to flow into your life. But it's a little counterintuitive because we're so conditioned around the moral right way to handle our money. So I work a lot on my clients with their thoughts and how they relate to money because money is just energy. It wants to love you. It wants to support you. It wants to be in a healthy relationship with you. And it's going to have healthy boundaries. If you're over here being chaotic with it, it's going to be like a mama bear. Like, I love you, honey. I'm just going to wait here for you to figure your stuff out. And then we'll come back together. And so we work a lot around like that nurturing healthy relationship around money. And then almost always I have got to work with them on letting, we call money currency for a reason. It's supposed to flow.
yes.
We have got to date our money. We have to understand what it's like to spend it when we want, because we want, and then to hold it, to make it, to create it, to have it, to not have it come in for a while if that's your circumstance, and just learning to be with it in a way that probably most of us never have. And it takes
100%.
time and experimentation, and there's so much morality tied into it, and if you I had a client who lost $500,000 in a scam. She got scammed by somebody who told her they were going to invest it, and then it just disappeared into the ether. And the shame that she felt for being taken advantage of was part of her curriculum. And I will tell anybody who's going through any money adversity, what you're learning right now is money in escrow, in the universal escrow. So she may have lost $500,000, but she's going to 10x that because she was willing to go there, explore it, be with it, learn from it. And now she's going to make $4 million in her business. So everything is just a curriculum. You're either winning or you're learning. And it's okay to do that with your money.
Mm-hmm. It's totally okay. And you guys, you start small. And any of these,
Yes.
you start small because it is near impossible to be sitting on the brink of, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills this month, to then show up and be like, la ti da, Meagan, there's so much money in my life. That's not what we're saying. We're saying little
No.
shifts. So it's like, hey, today I'm okay. And that is a win. Today I am okay. And today the bills got paid. And I know that there's a gap and I'm going to figure out a solution. That is a first next step. We are not a fake it till you make it. In fact, that's like that. The fake it till you make it, the whole toxic positivity, that is wrong. You got to reach for the best place you can get to and stabilize yourself in it, which kind of then ties into your other pillar, which was emotional resilience.
Yes. So, and just to tie in, like if someone's coming to this podcast with almost no net worth, right? I want that woman to know that she is in a pristine place to make all the money she wants to make. Because when you have nothing to lose, you're so capable, you're so smart, you're so able to leverage that courage because you got nothing to lose. It's actually, I want to say, a more beneficial, easier place to create wealth and success from than somebody who's coming in with $2 million that they think their ex made for them. That's a bigger hole to dig. And I know that that may offend somebody who's got nothing. They're like, oh no, if I had $2 million, this would be easier. But you're in a beautiful spot. The key is authenticity. To your point, we are not going to pretend that you feel different than you feel because you cannot lie to the universe and the quantum field and convince it. Everything is energy and you can't lie about how you feel. And then you start gaslighting yourself and everything starts to feel like a performance. The most powerful emotional fuel you have is your authentic emotion. If you're feeling scarcity, good. Feel it. What is it telling you? How can you get to know yourself in that place? What's the first next step? Do you just need to get a job so you can keep the lights on? Great. Go do that. Do you need to call a financial advisor and say, I need to take some money out of retirement and I'm going to let my face melt off while you shame me for needing to take money out of retirement? Whatever that next step is, you can feel terrible and do it anyway.
And that kind of leans into the emotional resilience because one of the big things is you got to trust. You got to trust. Scary shit's going to come up. Emotions are going to rock your world. You need to learn how to say, okay, when all this chaos is swirling around me and the anxiety is hitting and I can't breathe and I feel like I have an elephant on my chest, what are the tools that help me lean into trust? Trust I'm going to be okay. Trust I'm going to find a way through. Trust that this is only a season, not a forever.
Yes.
Trust that I am highly capable of going and figuring it out and getting shit done and moving the marker. And that kind of falls in that emotional resilience area.
Yes, it is creating safety in your body and in your mind to feel terrible for as long as it takes and know that you're going to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Not because I don't want anybody to continue moving through the world thinking that they need to solve for their emotion. What happens is we'll get triggered. Like say your ex sends you a rude email, right? And you're immediately reactive and you want to defend yourself. The reason you want to defend yourself is because your nervous system is saying, get away from this anger, get away from this frustration as quickly as possible. Let's react to it and send a defensive email back. And instead of doing that, we work on building in a pause and saying, oh, wow, I'm feeling angry and frustrated right now. Okay, fine. Now, what do I want to do here intentionally that's going to help me either document what I need to document or just, set a boundary? Do I even need to respond? We have a lot more agency to use that anger and frustration for ourselves when we're not so reactive because we think we now have an anger problem we need to solve with our ex because they're terrible at solving our feelings.
100%.
Really
I
bad.
actually really love, I think the nervous system work is my jam, mainly because fear had taken over my world. And because fear had gotten so big, it meant that it was triggering all the things in my nervous system. And so I really couldn't tell what was real and not real. And there is a whole episode on this on the show. It's called The Other F Word. It's my second favorite 4-letter F word, you guys. It's fear. And understanding what's happening, because so much of it is automatic. Our automatic nervous system is doing its job to protect us and keep us safe. But because we've lived in survival mode, because we've ignored the nudges and the hints and the pushes it's been giving, it's now like screaming, right? You physical symptoms. My hair was falling out. My GI system was a mess. I always had indigestion. Like all the physical symptoms were there because I wasn't listening to the other pieces, but I had to learn how to override the fake ones. How do I know if it's fake or is it real? Like, is this really is that message
Mm.
that my ex sent me really a threat? Do I really need to do anything by it? Maybe, maybe not. But that's the whole that resiliency that needs to be built. It's self-discernment,
Mhm.
self-awareness on what's real, what's not real, and what do I really want to take action on.
Yes, 100%. That's exactly it. And people will also often say to me, well, I shouldn't be so triggered. Why am I still so triggered? I don't want to be so triggered anymore. And I always question that. I'm like, wait a minute, you have somebody speaking to you in this manner that you don't
Mhm.
like. Why do you want to feel neutral about it? Like, that's the point of your stress response is to be like, whoa, this isn't in alignment with what I
Yeah.
want in my life and who I am. So it's actually a very healthy, useful response when we know how to have our agency and autonomy over it. And I also just want to tell your listeners that, and I'm sure you can agree with this, the process of building self trust, you don't just meditate in a corner and it appears. You will not have it until you go fail 100 times, succeed 25 over and over again. It is a slow process that happens through experience only. You cannot do it in a vacuum. It will not come first.
No, it's literally you're going to prove it to yourself again. And and it's so interesting to me the places that it builds. I've recently been reflecting on the gym, okay, because the gym fell off my little daily schedule because I had shit that had to get done. Okay, we all do this. Oh my God, it's a busy season. I'll just skip the things. I even preach that you're not supposed to do it. And you guys, I'm over here telling you, I do it too. It's why I build life in a season, not a month, not a year, a season. Like this season, it didn't fit in. Okay, so right away, separation, when I found out he was cheating, right? I dropped like 20 pounds in a month, like very unhealthy. Like I was nauseous. I couldn't eat. I was so upset, so sick. But I was like, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna build this back in a healthy manner. Like, again, what a gift. My life is in the gutters, but what a gift. I just had the fastest like diet I've ever experienced in my life. So I ran with it and I went to the gym and I really fell in love with lifting weights and, any type of body movement. You're going to lift, you're going to push hard, you're probably going to cry in the car, on the mat, wherever it is afterwards. And so I was doing the things and it was hard and I was loving it. And I wasn't 100% connecting the dots until 2 years later. I was on the side of Mount Rainier hiking up the mountain in tennis shoes and in leggings because the guy I was dating said, "We'll just go on a little hike." And
What?
and it was like, I thought we were walking through a park, okay? And so we're, like, climbing up this snowy peak where everybody's got poles and, like, hiking boots, and I'm in, like, Adidas tennis shoes and leggings, literally. I was in my yoga
Oh
gear,
my gosh.
and I'm having a massive panic attack that I'm gonna fall off the side of the mountain because I have a fear of heights, and it's just like, "Shoop," and, you, like, go and you're gone. And you know what started hitting? The same bullshit that used to hit when I was lifting. I can't do this. I can't do this. I need to quit. You should just quit. What are you doing? You can't, you can't, you can't. Over and over. It was in my head. And I was like, nope. I can do this. I'm not quitting. I didn't want to quit. And so it was the same things I had to work through in the gym. I put my playlist
Mm.
on. I started focusing on count your reps. I used to have to count my reps. You can do 5 more. And you can do 5 more steps. You can do 10 more steps. Start counting your steps. And I noticed how much of that, because I had proven it to myself that I could do hard things in something so unrelated to life or relationships or anything. It just was the gym. Can I lift 5 more pounds? For sure. It translates everywhere else because you have built this awareness that, like, my nervous system, the bells were going off. I didn't want to be there, but I was like, nope, you got this because I'm not going back down. I'm not quitting right now. And I made it to the top and we slid
Mm.
down and it was so fun and such a valuable lesson of like, yes, I can do hard things. And I'll put a little asterisk in there that I'm in a phase where I've also noticed now that you can really only push really hard on one thing or two things at a time.
Thank you for saying that. Everybody wants to overhaul their entire life all at the same time. I'm like, no, it's not how this is going to go. Now, go try. Oh, more power to you. But when you come back, we will see that this is actually, your brain just cannot hold all of that when the changes are so massive all at once. It's just not supportive.
Yeah.
So pick one priority and go make that happen. For me, it was money after my divorce. I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. I had zero income when our divorce was finalized. I was like, but figure this out quick. So it went first above everything else. And just like with the gym, you don't go in the first day and get a massive bicep. You get sore, you're miserable, your brain hates it the whole time. It takes, if you look at like a bodybuilder, it takes them years, 5-7 years to build those muscles to be really at their maximum, like stage ready, whatever process they're doing. And everyone's in such a hurry for these quick fixes after their divorce. And I'm like, no, I want a decade. I'm going to move slow and steady through this because I will not be repeating these lessons. I'm going to learn them and I'm going to be where I am and I'm going to take my time. And it's been 4 years since my divorce was finalized, but really, this started in 2018. So probably around the time you were separated or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We were final in 17. So.
Okay. Yeah. And just it's one thing at a time.
One thing at a time, because I've noticed that when I try and do all of it, because I am a little perfectionist, I have a money story that you've got to work really hard to earn money. That's a bad money belief. Get rid of that one. And so I was taking on and pushing in all areas, and the burnout and the crash is violent. Like all of a sudden I'm eating the whole bag of Oreos and I'm like, wow, you just commit, your system hates it. Like my body is like, you cannot do this to me anymore. Like it swells up, it gets really sick. It doesn't like it. And yet I'd be over there two-handing Oreos, like it's nobody's business. Right. So I realized I was like, it's because I'm pushing too many things. So get as many things stable as you can. When I first was separated, what a gift. I lived in the same house I'd been paying for 2 years. I was already paying that mortgage. I knew how to pay it and I knew where it came from out of my salary. That was stable. My job, that was stable. Okay. I had to work through some money issues and credit card spending and whatever. That was a little one. And then I chose the gym. I chose to reinvest in myself as the thing I was going to push hard on. Then things moved, right? Then I moved, then my job moved, so we can't do them all at once, and that's okay. But the cool part is when you pick one and you dive deep into one, you move that needle faster and more consistently than trying to do 5 things at once.
Yes. Well, and because just to bring it back full circle here, that's because what we're really doing, it's not about the result you're creating, it's about the identity you're beginning to embody. And it's who you become by actually tackling the one thing that then starts to create this momentum in your life. And I call it, we maintain the status quo. Everything but the one thing, we're holding the status quo. We're going to hold steady. I don't care if you think you have 50 pounds to lose and you can't wait to get to it. But right now you got to figure out how you're going to pay your bills. Then we got to do that first. And we're just going to try to hold steady at the 50-pound weight loss, right? Yep. We're not going to try to overhaul that right now. And people want to fight me on that all the time, but it's so much more efficient.
So much
more. Collapse time. Yeah. Accelerate timelines. Quantum leaping requires that kind of focus.
And it requires the space and the peace of mind, because when you try and I was trying to overhaul all my food. Okay. So all the alarms are going off. My body's pissed and it's like, you can't live like this anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, fix all of it. A 45-minute walk and an hour of lifting weights and overhaul all your food and still build a business and still. And I was like freaking out. And so then I put a pin in reworking food because cooking stresses me out. We know this. So I was like, you know what? Don't figure out how to cook in a new modality. Cook the things you're doing. Be okay that in this season, you're not changing your caloric intake and I'm not changing, whatever the vegetable makeup is in it. That's okay. And every week, try one new thing. Every week, find one day when you can explore one new recipe. If you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted from overthinking, and stuck in uncertainty, This message is for you. You don't have to keep feeling that way. Inside the club, you'll find a safe space to rediscover who you are, clarify what you want, and determine how you want to move forward. Surrounded by women who truly understand and guided by expert support, you are not alone on this journey. Join us at thecrazyexwivesclub.com/the club. It's time to reclaim your life. So when we stop trying to do it all, the biggest gift is our nervous system can start to calm down so that then we can build more resiliency to take on, because you don't stay doing nothing forever. You just stay stable, and then little thing by little thing start to redesign it.
Yes. And you start to build that self-trust that is required.
Yeah, because you can do hard things.
You said that earlier, and I was in my mind, I was like, yes, because I don't know where we got this idea. And maybe it's the like pop therapy that we all consume now, but and it's not that there's a place for healing and therapy and all of that, but we've got this idea that we're fragile and that we're like going to break and we can't do it. And we're afraid to test our own limits consciously, even though you literally just exited a relationship that really pushed your limits. But to choose to do it on purpose versus in reaction to something outside of you forcing you to do it is a whole new ball game. And so, but I've never met a woman who is like not the one. And who you're always the one. You're the one. You figure it out. You're the one that's going to save yourself. You're going to figure this out, and you're going to rewrite the legacy for your kids and for your family, for yourself. And you're going to heal generations going backwards and forwards when you do this. And so yes, it will look like hard things for a time. And I will never stop embracing hard things because I don't ever want to be done with that process. I love it. I live for it. I want to see what's on the other side of an impossible challenge. And it's fun for me now to do that if you can gamify it. But you got to stop believing you're going to break and that you're so fragile, because you're not.
No, it's just one of those stories that our little ego tells ourselves. Run away from that. Run away from that.
Protective.
When you face it and you get through it, you get through the gauntlet of whatever you think is going to be the worst thing ever. It's not. The fear that it was going to hurt terribly is usually bigger than the reality of just doing the work and getting through it. Mm-hmm. So like I love facing it down. Like face it down. Like let's challenge it. Let's get through it. Like why spend your whole life running, avoiding, being triggered by the bullshit that you can actually change? So let's talk about, I know there were two more, lifestyle design. So creating a little like energy shift. I do love Marie, what's her name? The Japanese Art of Tidying Up.
Marie Kondo.
Oh, you guys go read that book. It'll take you like 1 hour. I mean, cliff notes of the book, rebuild everything in your house to when you look at it, if it doesn't make you happy or bring you love, get rid of it.
Yes.
And what a beautiful time.
All the things from your marriage, like the knife set that you got in your wedding, when like it's got to go.
I only just got rid of them, Megan. Like why
I just got rid of the glasses and the knife set, which is why I use that example. I have a rug that I need to, it's like this gorgeous Persian rug. It has a hilarious story about how I got it, but I'm like, I don't think this can stay, but I don't know. Like you've got to start clearing your space, and I want you to get woo-woo. You get some smoke clearing, you get some crystals, you open the windows, you change your sheets, you do the salt thing and the baking soda, you do all of it. You light some candles and you get some fresh energy into your house. It's going to make a difference.
It 100% makes a difference, you guys, even just opening the windows. So there is a thing to it. And it, again, ties into the money piece, because what I started to do is little by little, first I went through and get in a good mode and then hold the thing and look at it and be like, does it make me happy or does it make me something else? And if you're like me and you have a really hard time letting things go, just put it in a box and put it in another room. And 6 months later, 3 months later, when you forgot it even existed, you know that you can move it one step further and get it out the door and get it donated. But little by little, I reclaimed the space. And one of the biggest ones was the bedroom. You know, like obviously the day I found out he was cheating, I like came home and stripped the bed and he thought I was crazy. And I was like, I don't want your smell anywhere near me. Like I can't do this. But I also bought a new duvet cover and I put up new pictures that I got. And I made sure that I was always, you know, like I'd send little like photos from my phone photos that were making me happy of my son or what we were doing. I'd send them to Walgreens. I'd get new 3x5s printed off, and I had, the normal string of like little pictures. And I just swapped those pictures out. It's kind of like the next one, the vision-based decision making that we're going to talk about, because it was like I'd see a picture online that made me happy, I'd screenshot it, I'd print it off, and I rotated them often so that every time I looked at it, I was like, oh, I needed all the things in my house to make me feel happy so that I could do the work to clear out the junk.
Yes. Choose things that make you feel happy. Some people love a vision board, and for some people, that makes them feel lack because they feel the gap when they look at it. So it's really about how it makes you feel when you see it, when you're in the presence of it. That's what matters. So it can be what makes you happy now. It can be what makes you happy to think about in terms of the future, where you're going. You get to make it authentic and personal to you.
I love that. Let's talk about vision-based decision making, because in my world, definitely very vision board heavy. I stopped making vision boards because who really gets magazines anymore? But your
Mhm.
phone, I would screenshot and I would use like an app to make a collage. And so I was constantly swapping over pictures of like happy families or trips or beautiful mountains or quotes or pictures of my son and I, like just the little things to be like, this is what you want to call in more of. But let's talk deeper into this vision based decision making so that they can leave
Mhm.
this episode with some very clear actions to take.
Yes. Okay. So almost always when we're coming out of usually a long-term relationship that didn't work, we've gotten into this pattern of assessing our decision making, assessing like possibility and what we want to do in terms of what we think we can get. Right? It's sort of like this idea of breadcrumbing, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to take this little scrap of whatever in my relationship and I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to make the best of it. And I'm going to hope that it's enough. And we really get really disconnected from what it is we actually want. Because the question of what you think you can get is really based on scarcity and past experience. And you'll see this a lot in divorce content, like statistically, single mothers have less resources and more responsibility, but at least they're happier. Or you'll hear your lawyer say, that's never going to happen. I just want you to know that's never going to happen. And so we get into this headspace and this practice of when we're deciding like what job do I want to apply for, or what business do I want to start, or where do I want to move, we look at it through the lens of what do I think I can get and how can I make the best of the bare minimum, because that's just how I'm used to living. And it limits what's possible for you because you're starting out back-footed already, right? Instead of saying, okay, if I trust that everything is working out for me and anything is possible, what do I want to do here? What do I want most in this moment to head towards? And I'm willing to fail. I'm really willing to feel whatever I need to feel to take action on this. But this is how I'm going to proceed here. And it's uncomfortable because it requires you to advocate for yourself in different ways and be open to being misunderstood by other people and to their judgments, right? To like, you can't take out money from retirement. Are you insane? What are you going to retire on? Meanwhile, I'm like, well, I'm going to have a business I love. I don't want to retire. What are you talking about? Like, I'm just designing my life around the things I love to do that I don't want to stop doing. And then I'm going to make so much more money because I'm willing to live in alignment with that vision and what's authentic to me. So now I have so much to work with in terms of the infinite possibilities that are in the quantum field. Anything is possible. I've had clients walk into a hearing on emotion and come out divorced with something they didn't even go in thinking they were going to ask for because the judge was like, this is insane. Never mind. I'm ruling on all these things and you're done. Like that shouldn't happen, statistically speaking, but I don't care. Statistics are about the past and they're about the cultural average, which you are no longer participating in. I don't want average. I want what's extraordinary to me. And that may be a little cottage and coffee on the front porch watching the sunrise. It might be being the CEO of a multi-million dollar company. It doesn't matter. There's no vision that's too small or too big. It only matters that it's yours and that you start making decisions right now that move you towards that vision. not based on what you think you can get or what the stats say or what, a depressing person online tells you is possible for you.
Right? Or what all of your family's fears are
Yes.
dictating as good as you can now hope for. Like, what are
Mhm.
you doing? You just need to take some job. You just need to create stability. You need to stop traveling. You need to blah, blah, blah. They have
Yep.
their own triggers that are driving them to create a scarcity mindset for you.
Mhm. When I did not jump to go back to practicing law during my divorce, my parents were patient. They were like, "Okay, but what are you doing? What are you going to live on?" And I was like, I was going to have to go in as a first year associate or
Mhm.
start my own firm. I was going to be basically at poverty level. Like I probably wouldn't even have been making six figures at that point. And I was like, I don't even want to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to trust that I'm going to figure this other thing out. And if I don't, then I will go practice law somewhere, which listen, I get not everybody has that backup and I don't want to, seem ungrateful. I was very thankful to have that kind of backup, but I hated it. I did not want to
Yeah.
do that. And so I had to hold space for a lot of uncertainty, a lot of judgment, a lot of fear while I got divorced so that I could get to the other side of it and then do what I really wanted. And now, I mean, thank God that version of me held space for that because I'm getting to do what I love. I can be here for my kids. I have so much flexibility and my income has skyrocketed in a way that it never could have had I gone back to working at a firm somewhere.
Right? There are different paths. There are pros and
Mhm.
cons to each side. But I think being able to get clear on what does it really look like for you?
Right.
What is your dream? And you're not writing it to say, okay, today it's going to be there, but it's giving you the end goal because we have to carve out a path to get you there. We have to figure out
Mhm.
the steps that need to be taken. If you want to go into the working world and work in a W-2 type job, okay, great. What's the child support look like? What's the backup plan look like? What's the interview process look like? What type of job do you want? Do you want to launch your own business? Okay, that is a whole host of different challenges that are going to come up. Yes, you get to be home when your kids are home from school, but you've got to get creative in other ways. So this is where this rebuilding your life post divorce, there's no right or wrong answer. We can't tell you exactly what you need to do, but we've got to show you that the truth lies in your own heart, in your own ability to figure out who you are and what do you want in this new chapter. And then how do you thrive amidst the conditions that are your new reality? You probably are starting over at a different salary. You might be changing support systems. I moved I moved once the divorce was final, we moved and sold the house. And so we started new neighborhood, new school district. I had nobody I didn't have the neighbors that I could be like, are you home after school to help my kid get in the house? All those things had a shift. And so it's about dreaming big right now. So where we're at, we're just started 2026. We kicked off and planned this episode for you guys to really sit down and think through, what do you want? Where do you see yourself? And this is a journaling activity that is, the sky's the limit. What would be ideal? And guess what? You can revisit it every few months, every year, and it's going to change and shift. I remember thinking I was moving out of state, and I did, but I moved across the border. I thought I was moving to the ocean or up to the mountains, and instead I landed on a river. So there are these twists and turns that show up, and all of a sudden they feel the same. But we've got to figure out how to figure out what feels right. And when
Okay, so one final thing I'll say about this vision piece is
yeah,
that people think that the vision, like the point of the vision is to go accomplish it, but I think of your vision as a placeholder for future you. It's really something for your brain to focus on in the present moment. That's not the past and that's not the limitation, not the pain. But as you move towards it, who you become is probably going to have a different vision. You're going to be like, oh, this is different now. I thought I wanted this, but I don't. And so the vision changes as you evolve. So that it's not so much about I have to strictly go get what I say I wanted. It's more about let me move in this direction and see who I become, and maybe it'll change and maybe it won't. But I have to be willing to start with where I'm at. So if I want to run a multi-million-dollar company as a CEO, but I'm unemployed and I don't have any savings, then the first thing I have to do is just go get a job. And people want to skip steps and they want the transformation to happen in 2 years. And I'm saying you got to give it 10 and you got to fall in love with the journey.
You have to fall in love with the journey. That was a hard
Mhm.
lesson, but I'm grateful I learned it, right? Like in the
Yes, me
moment you
too.
hate it, and
You
then you
do.
get through it to the other side and you're like, I'm really grateful it didn't happen any other way.
Mhm.
So I love that. Well, thank
100%.
you. Thank you, Meagan, for joining us. You guys, all of Meagan's information, contact information, handles, websites, all the good stuff. It's in the show notes. It's also online at thecrazyexwivesclub.com under episodes. I highly recommend you go follow her, check her out online. Thank you, Meagan, for joining us. You guys, as you move forward into this year, it is a journey. It is a rediscovering of who you are and who you want to be. You don't have to have it all figured out right out of the gate. And even 10 years down the road, there are things that I am learning about myself right now. I'm having to do some of these same activities of what do I really want for 2026? What does my day in, day out look like? What do I want to build? Who do I want to be around? What am I prioritizing? So take this episode, these lessons, and dive deep. Let's start creating the magic for your year. Until next week, give yourself some grace, and we'll be back again with another great episode. And that's it. Another great episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast for women learning how to heal from their divorce. Tune in next week for more advice and tips to help you figure out life after divorce. And until then, give yourself grace, do the best you can, and know that this is all part of the process.